Welcome back to WION World is One. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on Speed News today. Let's get started. India has closed its airspace to Pakistani airplanes days after Islamabad banned Indian planes from overflying amid rising tensions between the two countries over the Pahalgam attack. The notice to air operators said that the Indian airspace was not available for Pakistani registered or leased aircraft, including military flights. The airspace closure will be in effect till the 23rd of May 2025. New Delhi has announced the reciprocal move 6 days after Pakistan decided to shut its airspace to all flights owned and operated by the Indian carriers. In a major development, the Pakistan government has appointed intelligence agency ISI chief Lieutenant General Asim Malik as the National Security Advisor. He would hold the charge as an additional portfolio. Lieutenant General Malik was appointed as the head of the ISI in September last year. His appointment as Pakistan's NSA comes in the backdrop of the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir, which claimed 26 lives. Terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba's proxy TRF, which was behind the Pahalgam terror attack, is believed to be backed by the ISI. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Wednesday called on Pakistan to condemn the attack in Kashmir. In a separate phone call with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, Marco Rubio expressed his sorrow for the lives lost in the Pahalgam terror attack and reaffirmed the US commitment to cooperation with India against terrorism. Pakistan violated the ceasefire for the 7th night in a row by launching unprovoked firing across the line of control near Kupwara, Uri and Akhnur in Jammu and Kashmir. The Indian Army responded promptly and in a measured manner to the Pakistani firing. This comes a day after India issued a stern warning to Pakistan over these repeated violations along the line of control amid rising tensions between India and Pakistan. Following the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack, the Director Generals of Military Operations of both countries had a hotline conversation on Tuesday to address unprovoked ceasefire violations by the Pakistan Army. According to sources, the investigation into the Pahalgam attack has revealed that the terrorists had done a recce of all the tourist places in Pahalgam, including the Betab Valley and the Adu Valley, before targeting the tourists at Baisaran Meadow. The terrorists had earlier planned to target Betab Valley, but at the last moment they changed the plan and chose Baisaran as they could escape from the spot easily. The Pakistani terrorists were supported by 2 local tourists and 5 overground workers. On the 20th of April, Pakistani terrorists marched towards Baisaran after a 2-day trek. They reached the forest near Baisaran and carried out the attack on the 22nd of April. Syria says Israel has launched new strikes near Damascus after sectarian clashes left nearly 40 dead in 2 days. Israel had warned against attacks targeting the Druze minority. Deadly sectarian clashes erupted overnight in Sahanaya, which is home to many Druze and Christians. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 6 Druze fighters were killed in the clashes, while the Interior Ministry reported 16 general security personnel killed after what it called outlaw groups attacked government positions and checkpoints. The Pentagon has said that the US State Department has approved the potential sale of Patriot missile systems, equipment, and support services to Kuwait for an estimated cost of $425 million US, the primary contractor for the equipment and services in the RTX Corps. The Patriot system first saw combat service during the 1991 Gulf War, defending critical assets in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Israel. Systems later saw combat during the US-led invasion of Iraq in 2003. Then in 2023, Ukrainian armed forces began operating US and German-supplied Patriot PAC-3 systems in its war with Russia. The United States and Ukraine have signed a minerals deal after a 2-month delay. Donald Trump's administration has called the deal a new form of U.S. commitment to Kyiv after the end of military aid. Ukraine says it has secured key interests after protracted negotiations, including full sovereignty over its own rare earths, which are vital for technologies and largely untapped. The two countries signed the accord in Washington after months of intense negotiations to allow U.S. access to Kyiv's rare minerals deposits. Reports say uncertainty persisted until the last moment. Ukraine's economy minister said that the deal would finance mineral and oil and gas projects. The United States has reportedly started sharing sensitive space intelligence with the UK and five eyes nations. This includes classified information on Chinese and Russian space activity. Until now, this intel was reserved for only Americans with top secret security clearance. Until this month, the activity of Space Delta 9, which is a unit focused on America's orbital warfare, was largely deemed US eyes only. But according to reports, the US is now allowing British officials to observe operations at Scriber Space Force Base in Colorado, and the move comes as concerns grow over China's increasing militarization of space. US President Donald Trump says the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney would visit Washington in the coming week. This while hailing him as very nice, despite tensions over Trump's tariffs and annexation threat. Pierre Poilievre's Conservative Party had been on track to win the vote, but Trump's attacks combined with the departure of unpopular former Premier Justin Trudeau transformed the race. Carney, who replaced Trudeau as Prime Minister just last month, convinced voters that his experience managing economic crisis made him the ideal candidate to defy Trump. Trump highlighted that while talking to reporters. Serbia's trade unions will join a protest called by student leaders 6 months after the deadly train station tragedy that sparked mass demonstrations against corruption. Serbia has been gripped by a wave of unrest since 16 people were killed in the collapse of a newly renovated railway station in Novi Sad last year. The students announced on their official Instagram account that their struggle enters a new phase. The incident has already led to the resignation of Prime Minister and the fall of the government. China has released a white paper on COVID-19 prevention, control and origins tracing. This according to Chinese and state-run news agency Xinhua. China restated that its case that COVID-19 may have originated in the United States, lauding its own contributions while casting doubts on the United States. The next step in origin tracing work should focus on the US. China's National Health Commission said the US should not continue to pretend to be deaf and dumb, but should respond to the legitimate concerns of the international community. Taiwan's defense ministry has said that it detected 34 sorties of Chinese fighter jets, 8 naval vessels and 1 ship operating around Taiwan. According to the Ministry of Defense, 27 sorties crossed the median line and entered Taiwan's northern, southwestern and eastern air defense identification zones. The incident follows a recent pattern of escalated maneuvers by China around Taiwan region, sparking concerns over regional stability as Beijing continues to assert its claims over the island. Taiwan has been governed independently since 1949, but China considers Taiwan as part of its territory and insists on eventual reunification, even by force if necessary. New Zealand has shut down schools, roads and grounded flights as the nation is facing the strongest winds in more than a decade. The National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research has said that the average wind speed has reached 87 km per hour in capital Wellington, the strongest since 2013. A red wind warning has been issued in New Zealand, the first such warning since 2019. Massive wildfires are raging on the outskirts of Jerusalem. Israeli authorities have been forced to evacuate thousands of residents in just 24 hours. At least 13 people have been injured so far. The huge fire broke out on Israel's Memorial Day for fallen soldiers. And according to Israeli media, over 160 rescue and fire teams are engaged in firefighting operations. Dozens of aircraft and helicopters are trying to contain the fire, and the country's military is also assisting the search and rescue operations. However, dry weather conditions and high winds are causing difficulties. The Israeli fire services have called the fire one of the largest ever in Israel. Shares of major AI and cloud computing companies surged after better-than-expected earnings from Microsoft and Meta platforms. Microsoft jumped over 6%, buoyed by robust Azure cloud growth, offering fresh evidence that its heavy AI bets are paying off. Meta climbed more than 4%, with AI-driven ad tools helping it beat first-quarter revenue estimates despite global uncertainty. The upbeat sentiment spilled over to AI chipmaker NVIDIA and AMD as well. Google parent Alphabet gained more than 1%. Supermicro Computer, which had plunged 11% early in the day after a revenue warning, recovered slightly in after-hours trade. Despite the surge, the overall outlook remains volatile amid rising tensions between the United States and China. The Bank of Japan holds interest rates steady and slashed its economic growth forecast, citing growing uncertainty from US tariffs. The BOJ now expects 0.5% growth and sees inflation reaching its 2% target only by late 2026, pushing back its timeline by a year. Still, it signaled that wage-driven inflation will gradually pick up, keeping future rate hikes on the table. The central bank warned that US tariffs are likely to hurt trade, dampen business sentiment and slow global growth, posing near-term risks. Yet it maintained that Japan's economy will regain momentum as overseas markets stabilize. Bond yields dipped on the announcement while markets await Governor Kazuo Ueda's comments for clarity on future policy moves. China's housing market continues to face headwinds, with resale home prices across 100 cities falling 0.7% month-on-month in April. The drop follows a surge in listings, especially in major cities, after resale restrictions were lifted, intensifying competition and fueling price cuts. Year-on-year, resale prices plunged 7.2%, while new home prices rose 2.5%. Analysts estimate average home values have already dropped 20 to 30% since peaking in August 2021, with 70% of the household wealth tied to real estate. Any recovery in this sector is critical for China's broader economy, particularly as trade tensions with the US resurface. For now, the data suggests that correction in China's massive property market is far from over. Russian President Vladimir Putin met with American filmmaker Oliver Stone in Moscow. Stone interviewed Putin more than a dozen times in 2015 to 17 for a series of the Putin interviews. Stone had also interviewed Putin for his documentary Ukraine on Fire, which was said to take a sympathetic view of Russia's involvement in the conflict there. No details about the interview had been released yet. Martin Scorsese is producing a documentary made with Pope Francis that will chronicle the late pontiff's work with cinema in the global educational movement he founded before his death. All Day is a News Story will feature conversations between Pope Francis and Scorsese, including what the filmmakers say are the Pope's final in-depth on-camera interview for a film. The documentary will detail the work of scholars Appoints, a non-profit international organization founded by the Pope in 2013. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.